We're here with James Watling. This is an interview for Peep magazine. Hi James.
Hello Peep magazine. Thank you for having me in. My name's James Watling. I'm a sports coach, mentor, kickboxing coach, martial arts, soul surfer so to speak. And I also compete in professional sports, kickboxing, full contact, K1, and some Muay Thai. Well, my first training session, I think I was 14, and I always wanted to do something to do with martial arts. As a kid, I was dating myself here, Karate Kid, maybe the fourth one, because that came out, what was it, the 80s, 90s? Actually the first one. So I just had this passion to do some kind of martial art, and I wasn't really sure what to do, and a friend of mine had just suggested that I come along with him to a local Thai boxing, kickboxing gym. It was actually Thai boxing, Berwick Muay Thai. So I went along with him for the first time. It was something I always wanted to do, and my interest just grew from there. That it was a very hard class, it was a very intense class. The idea at the time was to get the guys to come in, knock them around in sparring a little bit, and if you could take it and come back, they were the kind of people they were looking for, which certainly wouldn't work nowadays, and not something I would recommend. However, even though I was terrified to go back to the gym and to the class, because it was always, you'd always get a hard time, but something in me drove me to want to keep going back, so I didn't like the fact that I'd been beaten. So I kept going back and got into it, and it grew into a passion, and went from there. Yeah, well, when I got into the sport, one of my earlier martial arts coaches, Steve Jessup, had suggested that I get into competition. So I started late in comparison to boxing. I started, I think I was 18, 19 when I had my first amateur full contact, I think it was full contact kickboxing fight. And I pursued the sport for a number of years, nearly 20 years I think. I don't have my dates in front of me, but maybe nearly 20 years of competition, competing, going through amateur full contact and kickboxing into professional full contact kickboxing and Muay Thai. And I did that, as I say, for a long period of time. I worked my way through the ranks, through the British, European and world rankings. And after a certain amount of time, I wasn't really as active as I would have liked to have been, and a few other things as well. And I decided to officially retire, and that was back in 2014, I think it was. My last professional fight was the back end of 2012. It's all good. we'll get it all verified. It's all happening. That's a good question, actually. That's a good question. I received an email from, in my opinion, one of the UK's top promoters, David Wield, offering me a fight, something that I'd been looking at for my whole career, really. And it just wasn't, I guess it just wasn't the right time, and that stayed on my mind for about a year. Actually, I had a whole year of thinking about it, and the day after the fight the day after the show that I potentially could have fought on was over, straight away I was like, no. So it was on my mind for over a year about whether I should return. It was just something inside of me that I didn't feel that was complete. I had a conversation with Steve Jessup, who was my martial arts trainer and a high-level martial artist, and I had a lot of conversations and time with Steve Ibbotson, who's currently active as a dual light heavyweight champion. And I just didn't feel it was right, and it was just something that I was back and forth in for, as I say, 12 months. But you know, as I say, the only way you're going to find out is by doing, or by finding out. So I made a decision to fight again, and to see what was there, what was left, and see if it was still, you know, if I was still as passionate about it as I thought I would be, doing the you know, doing the deed, so to speak. And that's why it was just felt the right time, felt the wrong time to retire, but I felt I didn't have a choice about it. But then the right time to come back seemed to just happen, you know. Yeah, definitely. Well, the event I fought on, I believe it's called Generations of Combat, which is a really professional show run by Anne Thooper, and another friend of mine and a competitive mixed martial artist, Ryan Copeland. He mentioned it to me about potentially fighting on that show, and it was a great show. It was held in Sunderland. It was Saturday night gone. It was a mixture of boxing, K1 and mixed martial arts. You know, a really well-run show, no complaints, very well done, great promotion. So hats off to the promoter, and as I said before, the opponent I had was Enzo Parente. Hang on, is that his name, isn't it? Was it Enzo Parente? Can you edit?
Yeah.
I'll just say Parente. I think it was Enzo Parente. I'll just click back in. Enzo Parente was the opponent, a very good fighter actually. I'd seen him fight once before against Ryan Copeland, a boxing match, and he seemed to have great movement. He certainly got himself in great condition and very experienced. I don't know exactly what his fight record is because I didn't look, to be quite honest with you, but I believe he's had numerous fights and he's active. And one of the chaps I was training with, Baz Jones, who's a fantastic boxing coach at the Manor Gym. Shout out to Baz because he really got my boxing up to a high level, along with Kevin Horwood and Steve Ibbotson. But they'd all looked at him. My coaches looked at him and said he seems strong. As I say, he's active. He's got great hands. And the other thing is that he was very game was the word, very fit and very game. He's got a massive heart and he's going to keep coming and keep coming. So that's really all I knew. I don't watch videos of my fights. That's not my style. My business is to get myself in the best possible shape I can be in, physically, mentally, psychologically, spiritually. And then, you know, it's my coach's job, or one of my coach's potential jobs, is to go out and see who the opponent is. So he was very good, a very you know, a very credible opponent. That's the big question, isn't it? That's the big question. That's the big question. I'm giving you a lot of information. It's like painting a canvas. I'm using every single paint because we can edit this down. That's a good question. I'm not going to give an answer yet because it's been less than a week since my my comeback fight. I've been out for nearly 4.5 years, and you know, obviously that question's been asked. My trainers have asked me that. My coaches have asked me that. My teammates, my students, Team Alpha 1. Matthew Stanner, shout out, Christoph Panowski, Matthew Stark, you know, my 3 blue belts there. We've obviously got more in Team Alpha, they're my blue belts. They're asking the question. I've got Matthew Stanners with me now, who I'd like to officially announce as one of my blue belts, who's now made his blue belt white stripe. So he's going to receive his white stripe, and the reason for that is our system is based not just on ability, technical ability, of which he's got tremendous amounts of that. It's also built through your time in, how dedicated you are to your training, how much discipline you have. Do you come in, do you train, and most importantly, your character. What type of person are you? What do you represent out in the world? And that's what our grading system is based on. It's 10 years to get your black belt, so a blue belt is in the Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. It's a serious matter. So I want to shout that out right now. I've got Matthew at the back, so that's official. He's now white stripe, blue belt. So well done. We'll wait and see. Let's wait and see. My children maybe ask me that question. My friends are asking me the same question. So, you know, and maybe there's some kickboxers in my weight division wondering the same thing as well. You know, so you never know. My whole career, I've worked through all the ranks and I've got myself to the top, and I've been left alone to grow older, so I'll become slower and lose my speed, lose my power, you know, lose my ability, lose my talent. That's the plan, and every time I come back, I always put on a tremendous performance. It's happened time and time again. So the younger guys out there, you've seen what happens when you dedicate yourself and when you discipline yourself and you have belief within yourself and within a higher power. I proved it, you know. Who knows how old I am, somewhere between 35 and 45, you can find that out for yourselves, and I came back the best I've ever been. And that wasn't just me, that's a lot of people around me, but focusing and discipline and dedicating myself. Hard work and dedication truly gets you to where you want to be, and there's no second place for that. You have to dedicate yourself, and then you become great at anything if you have that discipline and the dedication and the commitment and the perseverance. Because plenty of people told me that I couldn't do it. Plenty of people told me, with all due respect, that I couldn't do it, that I was too old, that I'm just, too much time has gone past, and I've proved that's not the case. And that comes from naturally from within myself, you know, with the training, with the food, with the nutrition, with the supplements, and with the willpower, and with the belief. And that's a good question. Is my training different now to what it was, say, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago? Let me just register my real age in my head. Yeah, that's like 30 years ago. Okay, is it different? Yeah, it's better. It's the best it's ever been. I'm not just saying that. You know, I've got some great coaches. I've done some tremendous work with Baz Jones on the boxing, with Kevin Horwood, who's been a long-term coach. You know, Steve Jessup in the start of the year. Where are we now? Sorry, the start of last year, and obviously we've had a long time together. We've done some great training together. There's some great foundation there. I've done a lot of training with Steve Ibbotson, a lot of sparring, a lot of, not as much pad work, mainly sparring and mental training and psychological training through Stevie, who's really helped to bring me on in those ways and answer a lot of questions. I'm the best I've ever been. I'm the strongest I've ever been. I'm the quickest I've ever been. I'm the fittest I've ever been. You know, I'm still running miles in just over 5 minutes and doing all the things that I've done. Age doesn't change you. That's a lie. I'm going to tell you right now that age is a lie. Don't believe anything you're told by the media. Not Peep magazine. That's the greatest media out there. Don't listen to the newspapers. Don't listen to the news. Don't listen to the you know, anybody who's telling anything about negative about age. Go read up and find out the reality of it. There's a 97-year-old. Again, I don't have the exact figures in front of me. There's a 97-year-old guy who ran a marathon not that long ago. He wrote a book on it. I haven't read the book. I've just heard of it. A 97-year-old guy ran a marathon, or was it 2 or 3 marathons? Do you know what I'm saying? So if you think age is relevant, it's only relevant if you believe it is. So you can do anything that you want, and age does not matter. It only matters if you believe it does. Now, obviously, if you eat right, you train right, you take your supplements, you have a healthy state of mind, you know, you do a lot of reading, you expand your mind, expand your spirit, your soul. You know, if you believe in God and in going to church as I do, that's great. I also do a lot of meditation as well at Harnham. If you don't believe in that, maybe you just believe in a universal power, but it exists. It's a real thing. Universal power is a real thing. If you dip into that, look at Conor McGregor, the law of attraction. You know, you are what you believe you are. What you think about, you become. You know, every famous philosopher, every successful person, you know, every great spiritual leader all points back to the same thing. You are what you believe you are. So it's up to you. If you think you're too old, then you will be. I know I'm not, you know. You might want to edit that down a bit. Yeah, definitely. Well, Team Alpha, it's a progression of my belief in regards to training, in regards to nutrition, in regards to supplementation, the psychology behind it, and that's something that I've studied for nearly 30 years actually. I've been involved in nutrition, as I say, strength and conditioning, exercise, and working out different training methods, methodologies as well, and a lot of, as I say, a lot of reading on psychology and neuroscience, and it's kind of encapsulating all my personal beliefs into one system and one team, so to speak. So Team Alpha is a combination of strength and conditioning training, static weight training, different types of martial arts, nutrition science, supplement science, psychology, and all these things come together for the Team Alpha. The team itself that consists of the main 3 members, as I've said before, is we've got Matthew Stanners, Matthew Stark, Christoph Panowski, and we have Chris, we have Colin, we have Patrick, we have you know, various other guys who dip in and out of it, and we run in a class format where we come in, we train together as a group, we're trying to push one another, we're trying to break each other's boundaries, so to speak, in regards to what we can do physically, what we can do emotionally, what we can do mentally, and it's a great class format. We have look out, 'cause we've got a new clothing line coming out. We have a supplementation, not a line, but supplements that we endorse as well, and it's a whole philosophy really of how to improve yourself emotionally, as I say, physically, psychologically, and mentally. So it's an all-in-one training system. I kind of created this system and work as a head coach, so I don't teach as many classes now. I tend to teach on a one-to-one basis, because then I can bring a lot of what my methodologies and beliefs and philosophies are into the system, and it tends to be people that are coming to me who are wanting to classically lose weight, increase their health and fitness, increase the mental state, and I try and what I look to do is to use all the knowledge and experience that I have to enhance that for the individual. That's a good question. I've got about 12 books at the minute that I'm trying to work my way through. The book I'm currently reading is by Dale Carnegie, and it's called How to Stop Worrying. I think it's something like How to Stop Worrying and Live Your Life, and that's by Dale Carnegie, which is really interesting. And the second book I'm reading at the moment is The 5 Rules of Thought, which is very interesting too, and that's to do with the law of attraction and how what you think affects how you feel, and therefore affects how you act. Another book I'm reading at the moment is The 4-Hour Workweek by Tim Ferriss, which is an incredible book, and that's about basically how you can, in a nutshell, how you can condense your work down, or your day-to-day coaching or work into a smaller period of time and achieve greater results, whether it's financial results or progression-based results. So you don't have to do 40-hour weeks. That goes back to like the industrial age, so to speak, when you're doing 40-hour weeks, and that was how factories would turn their employees over. Whereas nowadays, and with the technology and with social media and just with it being a much faster-paced life, you can actually condense what you do down into a smaller period of time. Yeah, so they're the 2-3 books I'm on at the moment. My favourite books, my top favourite book in regards to boxing is Dark Trade by Donald McRae, which I think is one of the greatest boxing books ever written. That's a fantastic book. Men Not the Devil by Anne Rice. That's a fictional book which I don't read much of, but I really recommend that you read that. It's a really good kind of commentary on life and spirituality. And then one of my most favourite books is called The History of Gunpowder, which is about the creation of gunpowder and how it progressed over the ages and the progression of weaponry, and that's interesting. And a book called Gravity as well, which is about how gravity is one of the most powerful forces in the universe, how it affects light and time and all this type of stuff. So yeah, so read, kids, don't just punch. Read. Fantastic experience, straight up, no pressure. But yeah, it's been absolutely wonderful. It's been a great relationship. I'm really enjoying it. I'm enjoying the work that I'm getting to do. The commentary is an experience for me. It's not something I'm professionally trained in, if you could ever be professionally trained. But I'm just trying to bring some of my fight experience and some of that knowledge and maybe my own kind of personal idiosyncrasies into the commentary, and try and make it interesting, because speaking personally, the kind of commentary that I always really enjoyed was when it had a bit of eloquence to it and a bit of knowledge and intelligence. That's what I like to see here, is some of the skills behind what we're seeing on television, and to make it adaptable for the viewer. So we're having a great time, and there's big things ahead for Peep. We've got podcasts coming up, obviously more fight shows, more commentary, so watch this space.